So today I want to talk about doggy medical treatments and when you should or should not get them. And I just want to preface this by saying that I am not a veterinarian, and you can probably guess that I'm not a veterinarian by the fact that I'm about to talk shit about veterinarians. But nonetheless, do not construe this as medical advice. There you go. So I myself am actually a dog worker. Sounds like sex worker. I am a dog worker. Specifically, I board and train dogs at my house. Um, it's a very small business, word of mouth. But I do come in contact with a lot of dogs. And recently, I had a very tragic situation with a customer where their dog went into kidney failure. And apparently, when they texted me, it sounded like he went into liver failure as well. And when I heard that, my reaction was, this guy's not going to live very long. And the dog, of course, I know him well. He's a great dog. He's an older dog, very calm. I had to do very little training with him. Um, but I kept texting them for updates to get his condition or to find out whether he was still alive. And I kept getting the same answer. He's on dialysis. He's at fill in the blank expensive top flight medical facility. Right? So a week later, he's still on dialysis. He's doing well. In my mind, I'm like, how is he doing well if he's on dialysis? So we're gonna get to this in a minute, but how is he on well if how's he doing well? So another week goes by. Like, it's been 2 weeks. I'm texting them for an update. He's still on dialysis. Doctors don't know what's wrong with him, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, these people are getting taken for a ride. And that's bad enough in and of itself. But the real problem is that my friend, this elder dog, is is being tortured to death, basically. He's already in organ failure. And this is what I want to talk about as far as dog medical treatments. A human can still have quality of life on a dialysis machine, right? We can read a book, we can write a book, we can watch a movie, play a video game, or make a phone call, or whatever, even while hooked to the machine, right? But what quality of life does a dog have on a dialysis machine? An elder dog whose time is probably up. He's 11 years old. He's overweight. He's having organ failure. And now all of a sudden, he's ripped away from his family, everything that he knows. He's in this medical facility, probably in restraints, right? He must be in restraints because he doesn't understand that he has to just sit still. So now he's in the straitjacket, basically, with needles and wires and tubes going out of him. What quality of life does he have? Yeah, he gets to see his family for an hour a day. And of course, they sent me pictures with him. He's got bandages. I mean, he looks like Bushwick Bill in that photograph. But and yeah, he's happy. Of course he's happy to see them. He's ecstatic to see them. But he only gets to see them an hour a day, and the rest of the day he has to be in this facility, probably in restraints. I don't know the whole details of the situation, but he must be in restraints while he's on dialysis, right? What quality of life does a dog have? Dogs are not people. It's not. It's one thing to spare no expense to save your dog's life. It's another thing to let veterinarians who are after a buck to recommend expensive medical treatments when they know he doesn't really have a chance. Okay, again, I'm not a veterinarian, but when I hear liver and kidney failure, what are we doing? Are we going to give him a transplant? What would you do if a human went into organ failure? You have to get them a transplant. Well, we're not getting them a transplant, are we? So what are we talking about here? And these people, they're great people, wonderful people. They love their dog, obviously, very, very much. But they're first time dog owners. They have 2 dogs, but I think these are their first 2 dogs. And they're also foreigners, and I don't think they had dogs growing up. So I just don't think they get it. We've come to a fork in the road with humanity, haven't we? And there's certain people who are just going to trust what the doctors tell them. They're a medical professional. They've got an MD. They've got a veterinarian. They're a PhD. They're an expert. There's the type of people that are just going to trust them no matter what. And then there's the type of people who are more and more looking towards natural medicines and self-healing as a way to prevent disease as well as treat it, rather than medical procedures what are going to cost you an arm and a leg and may not be successful. In fact, just to get off the dog topic for a second, I had a friend, and his mother passed away from cancer in her 50s, and he inherited her apartment in downtown Manhattan, New York City. And the insurance company knew that. So they went after him and charged him $500,000 for an experimental cancer treatment that did not save his mother's life. So he lost his mother and lost his inheritance because of a cancer treatment. Okay, so back to the dogs. I'm not saying that all veterinarians are just out to screw you, but when I go into a veterinarian office, I look at what they're saying as suggestions, or I look at what they're saying as options. Here's a set of options, and I do not feel the least bit embarrassed about asking what the price for those options is. Don't let them run the bill up on you for treatments that don't work. I'm going to wrap up this story about the dialysis in a minute, but I just want to talk a little bit more about dog treatments and veterinarians. Here's another personal story. I have a dog who has allergies, as many, many, many dogs do, because the reason they have all these skin allergies is because A, pollutants in the environment, B, sedentary lifestyle where they're indoors all day breathing dust, and C, most importantly, garbage processed food that they eat every single day of their life. Imagine never ever having a fresh meal. Well, that's what most dogs experience. They just have processed kibble and nothing else. Maybe some table scraps if they're lucky. Some people don't even think to give their dog the table scraps. They throw it in the trash because they think that the dog food is healthier for the dog, right? So again, there's a mentality that I'm illustrating for you of people who just believe what they are told by people who are there to sell them products and not necessarily help them. Okay? So they prescribed this veterinarian tried to, she gave me the whole pitch. She gave me the sales pitch, and it's for this drug called Apoquel. You probably have heard of it if you have a dog with allergies. They're going to try to sell you Apoquel. And so at the time, I went in. She gave me 2 pitches, of course. First one was the expensive dog food You have to try out all these different types of dog food so we can determine your dog's allergy, right? That was the first pitch. But she looked at the way I was dressed and figured that I didn't have the money, which was purposeful on my part, of course. I go in there dressed like a bum to see what their pitch is going to be. So she kind of glossed over the food. She covered it, but she figured I wasn't going to go for it. So then she went to the Apoquel, okay? And Apoquel is a drug that they prescribe dogs with these allergies. And they'll say, Apoquel make your dog stop itching. Great. So for me, as she's giving me this sales pitch, I'm listening to her describe this drug and how it works, how it makes the dog stop itching. And in the back of my mind, I'm kind of nodding and smiling, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, there's no way this can be legit. There's no way that a drug can work like this and be healthy for the dog. And so come to find out, Apoquel is a drug with no medicinal value. In fact, it actually breaks down the dog's immune system. That's right. Apoquel works by suppressing your dog's immune system. If you think about that, it makes perfect sense, because how does the itch stop? Why are you itching? Because your immune system is telling you to itch, right? So we're not going to actually treat the infection. We're not going to treat the underlying allergy, which may be causing the infection. No. We're just going to treat the itch itself, right? And the way we're going to treat the itch is by destroying your dog's immune system with an addictive and expensive drug. And this is being pushed in every vet office in the country. I can tell you that right now. No matter how kind-hearted and good you think your veterinarian is, they have been trained to sell drugs, just in the same way that medical doctors have. You have to watch your own back. Now, back to the story of the doggy dialysis. So they're texting me this stuff. He's been in dialysis for 2 weeks. And I've already told you what I thought about it. And I just, and I was like, this isn't right. I have to say something. Not the first time that I've put my client relationships in jeopardy for saying something about their dogs. But, for me, conscience is more important. And to me, the dog is my client, I like the people. They're cool. But the dog is really the one that I care about. So I wrote to them and I said, what exactly did I say? I can actually look it up. Hold on. Here's what I said. I just had to speak for this dog, and I actually deleted part of the text, and I'm going to tell you about that too. So here's what I wrote. If you can't live without a machine, that is no life for a dog. My prayers are with you and your family. We had a long talk last when he was here because he seemed so down, and I think he was kind of saying goodbye. So I'm trying to tell them that their dog is dying. And I'm trying to tell them that living on a machine is no way to live for a dog. And the other thing that I wrote, and I deleted it, I said, I know that he would just want to come home. Just get him one more dialysis treatment, take him off that machine, bring him home, let him die at home. That's what I want to say more than anything. No, how long does the treatment last? 8 hours, 12 hours, 4 hours? I don't know. I don't know anything about dialysis, but give him one more treatment. If he only has 6 hours, fine. You give him the treatment, you bring him home for 6 hours, let him be in his home surrounded by his family so he can die there. That's what I wanted to say. And the reason why I didn't say it was because I knew they wouldn't listen. Because, again, why should they listen to a dog sitter over the top veterinarians in the state? Right? This is the top dog facility in this area, and this is a big metropolitan area. So I'm sure they're paid a lot of money to have him on dialysis for 2 weeks. And that's why I wanted to say more than anything, just bring him home. Just bring him home. Let him die at home. But I didn't say it because I knew they wouldn't listen, and then they might feel bad afterwards, or they might feel some kind of way towards me. But when I said what I did, just about, living on a machine is no life for a dog, I could tell by her response that she wasn't going to get it. And so I just tried to be supportive. But, of course, my worst fears were realized, and he died alone in that hospital at 4 a.m. Probably there were no even attendants around. But he's hooked up to a machine in restraints, alone, in a fucking hospital, far from his family, far from his home, far from his dog sitter who cares about him. Because these people thought that it was more important to try and save his life than to give him a good death. And that could apply to a lot of humans as well. So don't let your dog suffer. And don't blindly trust your veterinarians. They have overhead for those businesses. They're always looking to cover their money. Okay? So don't let your dog die alone in a hospital like my friend did. Alone at 4 a.m, tied down probably, with a machine pumping him. That's not a way for a dog to die. Once your dog's organs have failed, they're not gonna live. Unless you're gonna spend $1 million to get them a transplant or something. Do they even do those? They probably do. Die with dignity. That's how I want to die. I had a friend who's dying in a hospital of cancer. I want to die with dignity. I'm not going to die hooked up to machines. If it takes 10 machines to keep me alive, then I'm not going to live. And that goes 10 times for a dog. Humans can have a quality of life hooked up to a machine. Dogs do not have any quality of life hooked up to a machine. Dogs don't have any quality of life when they can't walk around and smell the ground. Dogs don't have any quality of life when they're not with their pack and with their family, when they're off in some medical facility, shot full of drugs. So I know you love your dogs, but don't get talked into these crazy procedures for your dog or yourself.